Hi everyone, welcome to another random question generator for Top Dice. If you like this kind of thing, please like and subscribe. Joining me this week is Pookie, Lee, and Allan.
Hello.
And I'm your host as always, Chris. Nice to meet you. If this is your first time, so let me think. Lee,
Okay.
jumping with you. What's new with you at the moment? Anything?
No, once again, not much to do with gaming. But I'm looking forward to a couple of conventions coming up. We were talking before we went on air. Got Continuum at the end of this month, and Owlbear and Wizard Stuff in Leamington in September.
Excellent.
And there's also the Grognard Files Grog Meet event that was always held the middle weekend of November in Liverpool, but they moved that because that's just when Liverpool's Manchester. Oh, beat me up, please. Seriously, I'm going to get so much trouble now. In Manchester, and it's always the weekend in November when things start to get expensive for the Christmas period. So they're moving the physical event to the middle of January when it'll be much quieter, and also they're starting an online thing which will be on the weekend when they would normally have when they previously had the in-person event in November. So I've got at least two in-person cons and an online thing coming up relatively soon, and the possibility of another in-person con if I can wangle it. But that's going to be a little bit.
I'll have to drag you back. You can tell us all about that.
Oh, I still have a video from a contingency back in January, which I still haven't edited and uploaded yet. So that needs sorting for the channel as well. I'll get to that when I've got a spare few hours.
That's right. We will look forward to seeing that. Pookie, anything from you?
I mean, yeah, just looking forward, similarly to Lee, looking forward to the conventions because I'll also be at Owlbear and Wizard Staff. There's another convention near Milton Keynes I go to called Concrete Cow. That takes place September and March. And for me, of course, the big convention coming up is my third visit to Gen Con, which just see new old friends and get some gaming in. That'd be huge fun. Apart from that, gaming wise, appears to be sort of like, arms deep into reviewing all of the releases for free RPG Day, and just continuing the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay campaign.
Excellent. Allan?
Well, I'm fresh off the back of a convention weekend just gone. That was StabCon in Stockport, which was a mixed bag for me. It was great fun. Don't get me wrong, it was great fun. But it's mostly a board game convention. But I played in my own game on the Friday evening. Somebody ran the secret files of Section D. So I actually got to be a player in my own game, which has happened once or twice before, but it's always great fun. So we did that, and I was dead last in all of the board games that I played until the Sunday morning. So good fun role playing, good fun, but not good results in board games. But no, it was but a great weekend seeing. Seeing lots of old friends, meeting new ones, and there may have been a beer or two, maybe.
I haven't been to a convention. I'm not planning on going on any. I kind of feel left out here. I should really sort that out. I've just been reading up a little bit more about Alien. I've got a couple of ideas. The scenario. I could do that online. I've also been creating 50, about 50 rooms for a dungeon, which is something else I'm planning on sort of running online as well, in the style of the fighting fantasy books, that kind of thing.
Oh, nice.
Also planning on kind of I'm not quite sure what system to use for that. That may be one dice, or a variation of. So yeah, that's kind of, compared to you guys, I've just been sitting at home reading a book, really.
Well, I mean, I also went to a little convention at the weekend. Basically, just a local wargaming club. So basically, open day and bring and buy. And I caught up with a couple of old friends and picked up a couple of things that were interesting, including a set of dungeon floor plans published by Endless Games in Coventry in the 80s that I'd sort of vaguely come across before. I mean, I'm not a war gamer. It was great to see all the stuff out and just catch up with friends at, and have an actual sort of day out here in Birmingham.
Excellent.
Cool.
Right.
Cool.
Well, okay. Get your dice ready, guys. I'm going to go with Lou. I think if you roll first, don't forget the rules for this are if you roll a 1, it does have a question linked to it, but you roll again, and the rest of us will decide which question you answer. If you roll a 20, that again has a question, and you roll again, but you can pick which question.
Questions with advantage and disadvantage.
Basically, yes. Make no apology, it's stolen.
Okay, then. Let's see.
Roll away.
10.
10?
10.
10. Okay. Lee, what is your preferred GMing style?
Ooh. Well, okay. If I've written the scenario, it tends to be like well, I said before, 3 or 4 salient points, and just pretty much sandbox loosey goosey the rest of it. So my style reflects how deeply the players have got into the action or the investigation. Generally light-hearted. It's probably a lot like I am in real life when I'm speaking. Say I'm with friends or down the pub or something. It's like I'll listen to everybody else, but I expect them to listen when I speak. I'm not the loudest person in the world, but I kind of bring that into my style. So as long as everybody's happy, as long as everybody's paying attention, then the rest of it it's just mostly humorous, not too serious, but it depends on the situation. I try and keep it mainly light.
Yeah, Lee. Sorry, were we supposed to listen to that?
I don't know. It's entirely up to you. You guys might have been investigating something else. I don't know. Just come back to me when you've sorted out the puzzle.
You see, because Lee was speaking, albeit quite quietly, and we were listening. I didn't realise, Pookie, were you actually working on something then? Were you doing some editing? I don't know.
Sorry, I was. I was listening. I was listening.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. I really feel for the viewers. I really do. So with your GMing style, would it sort of also depend on what you were running? So, for example, if you were running a fantasy game compared to I don't know, Blade Runner style adventure, would you change anything?
Oh, definitely. The actual humour at the table, I'd move that up and down, and I would try and be more serious and just be more factual when things get serious. Yeah, when the situation gets serious, I'm trying to get points across. But I'm very much. I probably get flack for this off at least some people because you do. I'm very much of the opinion that the referee, GM, DM, whatever, is part of the table and should be having fun just like the players.
Yes, totally.
There's still a lot of people that still believe the adversarial style. I go, yeah, we did that 40 years ago. That's fine, but
it didn't work, and it really didn't work then.
No.
How it'll work now, because if there's 4 of you, sat around a table, and one of you's running the game, there's still 4 players.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's just as much part of it as the actual players.
Yeah. Well, I sometimes find that having as you said, Lee, have some salient points, but having the end scene. I've written a number of things where you have the end scene and kind of work back from there. Of just how all right, how do these players get to that? And sometimes if you've got the end scene, you can sit at a table and listen to what the players say, and they'll write the adventure for you. As long as if you've got the end scene, they'll write the adventure for you.
I love it when that happens. Yeah. I mean, I've gone into a game with just a chapter heading. Just like the old abandoned mine.
Mm-hmm.
That's all, and that's what I don't even plan the day before or week before. It's a case of I know the system. I only do this for players I know really, and it's a case of a lot of the stuff they'll add to, because it'd be like, oh, what's that? There'll be a noise, and it's like, oh, it's orcs. And it's like, right, okay, I'll use orcs, things like that, or they'll sort of, they get themselves that wound up. It's like, well, if you'd have kept your trap shut, it would have just been a waterfall. But no, there's there's orcs and a big troll,
Yeah. The question: what languages do you speak? Make a perception roll.
Exactly.
That's all you need.
Right. So, Allan.
Okay. Let's see. I have got a 4.
Ooh, 4. Nice low number. Okay. Out of all the role-playing games that you've played in and used over the years, what game mechanic do you like? What is it, and how does it work?
Right. I think this is going to be my go-to. Is going to be Savage Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I really like about Savage Worlds is bennies. So they're in other games. They're called luck points or fate points or whatever it may be. Savage Worlds encourages the GM and the players to be a lot freer in how they use a benny. You can. It ties so many different parts of the system together as well. So, for those not familiar with Savage Worlds, you have a character creation. You have a system of edges, which are your benefits, or might be feats in D&D, for example, and have your hindrances, your character flaws. And when you play up to your character flaws, you can earn a benny. And then you can spend that benny to make a re-roll, or to re-roll damage, or to influence the story, or to gain a few extra power points if you're a caster type. And there's all kinds of things, or you can use it to soak damage as well. So, the big bad guy gets a big hit on you, and you spend a benny and you roll some dice and you negate the damage. And it's hit points without being hit points at that point. And you've got the choice as the player: do I use that benny to re-roll this and maybe see if I can win that hand of cards, or do I save it because there might be a fight coming up and I need to soak damage? So you've got that. I think it just brings a lot of elements into play in Savage Worlds. I would say bennies. There you go.
It also adds a lot of. I came from D&D 3rd edition to Savage Worlds. Completely different, systems completely.
Yeah.
And that took some getting used to. But as a player in Savage Worlds, I always found bennies added a certain amount of stress, but in a good way, because like you've just said, it'd be like, well, I could use this to make my, to strike better or to soak the damage. what if but I've only got a certain number, and what if I need them if there's like an even worse threat? So you want to use them, but you also want to hold onto them because the next thing could be worse than what you're currently dealing with. And it's like, well, I can currently take the damage, or it's all right. I'll I'll do what I want to do next, and it adds a
You
good.
see now, I found as a game master for Savage Worlds, if players are thinking that way about bennies, then you as the game master have done it wrong, because they should be, they should be flowing around the table. A player should not. Very rarely should a player hesitate to actually use a benny, particularly sort of early in a session and things like that, because the game master should be giving them out. So
I like to, as a GM, I like to just throw them out. Like, for example, if someone told a funny joke, it'd be like,
yeah,
me. Yeah, I'd throw them out. But maybe it was the people I was gaming with. I don't know. I'm going to get some flack for this. I know for sure. I know one of the people that I played Savage Worlds will be watching this. So, Allan, it's nothing personal. Um, that may be the case, but but as a player, it was like, oh, but I was off the back of D&D as well. Don't forget. So it was like I still had that sort of kind of like next big bad mindset going on in the head.
yeah.
Just to get rid of that.
I mean, the issue there, I think, is that Savage Worlds, as written, doesn't quite encourage that as well as it should. Whereas I look at something like the Conan 2D20 system with its momentum mechanic and economy, where they actually describe it as an economy where they say this should throw freely back and forth, to drive the story. I mean, I can see the whole point, Alan, what you're saying. That's what it should do, but I don't think it's quite as written as clearly to do that as it should be.
I would agree. I would agree. It is one of those things that if you go on the Savage Worlds Facebook groups or forums and things like that, that people are always saying, I'll let the bennies flow. The bennies should just be moving backwards and forwards, as because it's a part of the game. So yeah, you are right. I mean, I've got a couple of parts in the things that I've written and released, and so said, if a player comes up with this idea, give them a benny, or here's an ideal opportunity for a player to do X, and if they do that, give them a so making a couple of suggestions where a GM might throw bennies out. But generally speaking, the system says if somebody plays up to their hindrance, if somebody, like you say, makes a quick, in character joke and things like that, then throw them about. But I just think it's a great system for making, just for keeping that kind of fun element in the game, because either you've botched a roll that you wanted to succeed, so you get another go at it. That makes the game fun. Or you want to earn a benny, so you're playing up to your character, or you're trying a wisecrack or something like that, and that makes it fun. So it's I think it adds a lot to the game.
A point of trivia that essentially that hero points like that go all the way back to a couple of espionage games. First with the survival points from Top Secret, where they were used to avoid death.
Yeah.
But they came into their own as what we would know as hero points with the James Bond 007 role-playing game.
Yeah.
Excellent, and that may feature in a quiz at some point. So take note.
It already has. I would suspect that I've already asked that question.
You may ask it again. You never know. One of those.
Well, if I get to the point where I do, here's the quiz of quizzes, the best questions from the last 10 years of quizzes or something like that.
There's the thing. Yeah, there's the thing. Lee, take notes.
I was sorting through some stuff the other day, and I found my answers from the last Pookie's big quiz that he did for virtual Grogmeat. So I'm holding on to those just in case.
Yes. or photocopy them, sell them on eBay, make a fortune. So, speaking of Pookie, I believe it's your turn.
Okay, what have we got there? I've got a 19.
19. Nobody's rolled the elusive 1 or 20 yet. Okay, Pookie, in your humble opinion, what makes a good setting?
Okay. Fundamentally, a good setting should entice the players and be interesting. It should give the characters something to do in the setting and be able to make changes. Doesn't have to be big changes, can be small changes. And it has to have, basically a setting has to have room in that space for the characters to have lives. Sorry, my my screen's just gone dark. So yeah, I mean, and I think the setting should have depth and detail and flavor. I mean, there are any number of great settings out there. You can pick and choose from. You could just list off which people really, really like. Some are not that interesting. Some are really interesting. It depends on what you like. I like settings with a lot of detail, usually a little bit off kilter, lots of flavor, lots of lore, and interesting roles within that space.
Can I ask a question on that then? So settings, do you think that some publishers are guilty of overwhelming a setting?
Yes and no, because the point is this, there's always going to be demand upon the part of the fans of that setting to want to know more information. And in some cases, you may well be starved of information because they might not bring out a book fast enough, or cover a particular aspect of that world. Whether or not can you overwhelm? Yes, you probably can. And in these days, I think that when that gets to the point, it's more a case of budget than,
So
and then
I look at Traveller and I just think, wow, this just,
would you think a book about in case of Traveller, the thing with that is that because it's not so much there's been so many books, there's been so many books for different editions, so it's repeating a lot of the same information. You have a huge setting, but at the same time, that huge setting is almost, it's not modular, but you can really break it down and go, okay, well, I'm going to go and play over there. I don't need to know about any of the information which is happening sort of like several hundred light years at the other end of the empire. So you can focus on particular regions in a setting like that.
True.
I love the Traveller setting, and I love the background. It's rich in flavour, and it lets you dig into it wherever you actually want. And there's a lot of scope for doing different things in that setting, whether it's, more recently. So, for example, you've got the Pirates of Drinac setting where, okay, you go off and be privateers, or the Secret of the Ancients, you go off and investigate one of the big secrets of the Traveller setting. And I think that's an example of a good setting. The other great thing, of a good setting is that you can have different campaigns within it. I mean, for example, we were talking about Legends of the Five Rings before the recording, and I played in that for about 10, 12 years, and I played in 4 different campaigns. So one where we were attached to a magistrate, so we were doing legal investigations. Another campaign based around a court. Another one where we were border guards between clans, and then another where we were essentially exiled, just out of peace of mind of our clans, which all made for different ways of interacting with that setting.
Yeah. I'm running. So I've said it on here a couple of times that I've recently started running Castles and Crusades. Now I picked that up because we started distributing it, and I thought I want to learn this so that if somebody asks me about it at Games Expo or something like that, I can talk about it. And then I thought, do you know what? I quite fancy having a go at this. So I just plucked Forgotten Realms and picked a village and wrote a quick scenario. And all of us, before I know it, I'm running a campaign. And now I've got a stack of Forgotten Realms books that I've had to go, some of which I've had to buy again, and some of which I've had to go and rummage around in the loft and find. And I just think something like Forgotten Realms is so rich, isn't it? You could do campaign after campaign after campaign there. That is one of the better things, in my opinion, that was done for D&D.
Yeah.
I actually have to confess here that I'm not particularly interested. I've never got into the Forgotten Realms, or I've never got into Greyhawk. They didn't particularly interest me. Whereas, if I wanted to pick up a Dungeons and Dragons setting, I would probably look at, say, Ravenloft or Dark Sun or Planescape, something that is just a little bit off kilter from your traditional fantasy.
Yeah,
but still as rich and sort of jam packed as any of the settings. I mean, a lot of them are quite, like, for example, Forgotten Realms. I've played in that a couple of times. I never ran anything in it because, weirdly, I found it overwhelming and slightly confusing. I just decided just to run sort of like single one-off adventures, which kind of linked into each other, and it was sort of everyone seemed to like it that way, Alien, for example. I know it sounds crazy. I looked at the star map, like to try and work out where to place it. And again, it was very overwhelming. So I thought, right, I'm not going to pick one. I'll make one up. And I'll kind of we'll just kind of make what, I'll have like my own planet, and then, we'll go from there. Using the rich background of the setting itself, which is huge. I think that's more sort of to do with me than anything else. I've kind of always been a bit overwhelmed. You can't have too much background, but it can be a little overwhelming, like for where to start. Setting Eclipse Phase, if any of you are aware of that.
Yeah.
It's a huge book, lots of background. I remember when I first bought it, I was like, oh my God, you could do some serious harm with this book. It's huge. I've not run it yet because, again, it's like, well, where the hell do I start with that? It's kind of strange because it's like a little bit off-putting.
I think one setting that got it right, really right, was Hellfrost, because there are a few adventure books, but in terms of the world and the lore, there's basically two books. There's the Gazetteer, which is one of the core rule books, and then there's the Atlas of the Frozen North, which is in itself an amalgamation of some splat books that were put out. So you've got two books, and if you've got those two books, you've got everything really that you need for that entire setting. And it was brilliantly done, and that was bang on for me. Couple of books. Once you've got those, you can find out anything else. Or if you can't find it out, make it up.
Yeah. Sorry, Pookie, go on. Sorry.
The other thing to bear in mind, I think, is sort of like there are these days publishers sort of like are looking at if they've got a setting or an intellectual property, they are looking at ways to make it accessible. So, obviously things like Glorantha from Chaosium and RuneQuest, there is a path into that setting, if you go and ask for it, if you could basically, you pick up the starter set, and that will provide you with the introduction that you want to know, and then from there you can be pointed towards setting information that you want to continue with that. I mean, the same thing with the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition starter set.
Mm-hmm.
That's a way into the world, into that setting, and it keeps it very constrained to the Duchy of Ubersreich. You don't need to go out and run off and do the Enemy Within campaign straight off. You can stick with that, and there are three anthologies of scenarios extra to the starter set that will support your continuing campaign just in that region before you go off and do anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Like for example, the One Ring, just the same thing. It's an absolute juggernaut of a setting. It's
but but I think the thing is with the One Ring is that because you really have like essentially points of civilization in that, that's a bit easier because you've got those points of civilization as clear starting points, and then it's easier to populate the areas out with essentially with threats.
Yeah, it's also a lot easier for someone like maybe starting out. They've been a lifelong fan of Lord of the Rings, but not quite knowing where to start. You've got the scenarios and various things. It's just really good. Like for example, the fourth edition Warhammer Fantasy is a perfect starting point for anyone new or old to that setting. It's perfect, and then you can go off. You can explore. So, well, what's in that corner over there? What's that? And it's like, oh right, okay, I'll learn about that. Or just go to Border Printers and make it all up. It's great, love it. So yes, I think that covers that. So leaves myself. We'll do what we did last time. Let me think. Lee, could you roll for me, please? And then we'll see.
Okie dokie. We have a 20.
Hey!
Ooh.
Excellent.
Hold on. I'll just get the camera so you can see.
Ooh.
There we go.
Oh, fantastic. See, if I'd have rolled it, nobody would believe me. So that has its own question. So if you roll again, I'll tell you what the two questions are.
Okay, so I've just got a bit Star Trek Red Alert. Just give me a second with the camera.
No worries, we'll check them all get thrown around.
Okay, roll again, yes?
Yes, please. See what we
14.
Get. Oh, 14. Right. So the first question is name 3 fantasy role-playing games you like. Or 14. Run, play, or avoid. Everyone else will name a different role-playing game and tell us what you would prefer to do with it. GM it, play it, or avoid it completely. I'm going to go with that one. I know it's like...
Oh, yes. Okay.
Basically, starting with Allan.
I'm looking at my shelf. I'm going to pick one. Chivalry and Sorcery.
Chivalry and Sorcery. Would I run, play, or avoid it?
I think you should get all 3 options before you answer there, sir.
Well, to be fair, I've got to answer it for each one. Really?
Well, you don't know what the other 2 are yet.
Go on then. Tell me what the others are. Lee, go on. If you fancy it.
Oh, I'm more. I have to say fancy, but I'm more of a science fiction horror guy myself. I'll just have a quick look.
Pookie, jump in any time you like.
I'm just looking on my shelf to see what I can pull off my shelf.
Surely that you must have some role-playing books there. Oh, go on then. What's that?
This is Pugmire, which is a post-apocalyptic fantasy setting in which you are all good dogs.
Okay, all good dogs.
There we go. It's essentially it's Dungeons and Dragons in which you play dogs.
Oh, I would play that to death. I might not run it. I might not. I don't know whether that would be too. I don't know. But I would definitely jump at the chance to play that.
There's also its cat counterpart.
Oh, and I'd probably buy that. I'm more of a cat person. I have a Rottweiler and he's absolutely gorgeous. But if there is such a thing as reincarnation, I'd love to come back as a cat.
I found one.
Go on. So listen.
Dragging off the shelf. It is Out of the Ashes by Paul Mitchener, creator of Liminal.
Mm-hmm.
And it is basically the good guys have won the war against the big evil guy,
right.
But there's still tiny little pockets of nastiness about, and you're trying to rebuild civilization, find useful things, all the rest of it, and also combat evil at the same time.
Is this a fantasy? So it's a sci-fi.
It's post-apocalyptic fantasy rebuilding thing.
See, I'd play it, but I wouldn't run it. Because just on first impressions, it sounds a little bit too heroic for my sort of slightly twisted cat-like personality to sort of enjoy fully as a GM.
Oh, there is some proper dark stuff in there, but it's
you're not.
Paul doesn't really lean into that kind of thing though.
Yeah.
So the question is, which one are you going to play? Which one are you going to GM? Which one are you going to avoid?
Right. Okay. Well, okay. I'll start with the avoid. Okay. Lee, your one. I will. I don't. I'm not getting. I'm not getting quite what I normally look for in a game from it. So I'd probably read the back of it and I'll pass on to something else. And I would pick up and play. I would pick up, buy, and run Chivalry and Sorcery. I would gem that. Okay. Because, well, that's essentially what I did do. I had a skim of it. I had a look at it, and I bought it. It's lovely, love it. And then Pugmire, am I correct?
Yep, Pugmire.
Pugmire. I would pester someone to run the game for that, and I'd jump at the chance. Because there's a chance I'd actually like it, and I'd probably be cheeky and buy that one. So, yes.
I actually think this is a question that should. I think this is a question that should remain on the list.
Definitely.
Okay, we can do that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, brilliant!
Like I must admit, I did have a bit of a laugh. It was evil when I wrote. I thought, yeah, that's going to mess up whoever gets that question. So. So yeah, sorry if you wrote, designed and worked on the game I would have avoided. I do apologise. It just doesn't sound like exactly. Thanks, Lee. That really doesn't make me feel any better.
I think you could do an entire episode of just that question.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
So that's something to think on. Yeah.
Okay, and I think that the thing is, make it a bit more different. Basically, I was able to pull off a copy of something different off the shelf. Lee was able to, and yeah, let's grab some role playing games and actually show and do a bit of a show and tell at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah. You see, if I'd gone this way, I could have. What have I got? I've got Traveller up here. I've got Weird Wars 2. I've got Hellfrost, but I've already spoken about most of it, so I'm gonna see. I could have got that one down, but
I used to own that. I read it, didn't like it. so I got rid.
Yeah, I've. That was one of the things that really helped me with writing the Secret Files of Section D, because it was really good from the sort of alternate history kind of point of view, I thought, but it was a bit dark, a bit end of days for me, and I wanted something that was brighter and a bit more tongue in cheek.
Yeah. Sorry, Pookie's throwing.
I mean, I was just saying that, I could have just reached off the shelf and grabbed this and just gone, yep, nobody would want to play this.
What
Victorian adventure.
It is essentially it's a role. It's not the first British role-playing game, but it's sort of like 1983, and it's not very good. It says it's the first truly British role-playing game. It's sort of, it's not Cthulhu by Gaslight, but it would like to be, I suppose. Anyway, but I mean, the thing is, I think, just pulling things off the shelf and have a bit of a show and tell so that people can see would be fun. Addition.
We'll have to go and experiment with that. So that does sound like fun. It'll be interesting to sort of see what other people thought about my choices there. But you've got to be honest. I've not heard about what. I haven't actually heard about that game, Lee, and description of it.
Well, I've played a couple of sessions at online conventions. One of those was run by Paul, who wrote it. So that gave me a good insight into it. But I'll be completely honest, I have this because I won it in a raffle.
There you go.
I genuinely probably would not have bought it myself, but it is actually, it's worth a look, certainly.
We are digging ourselves into a hole here. This is terrible.
But yeah, I definitely understand it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea.
I remember picking a game. You know how you go into a game shop and you look at a book and you think that looks interesting. I'll buy that. And I did that with a Savage World setting, which I'm not going to name, to protect the innocent. But it's an absolute pup. It's just.
It happens.
Oh yeah, it's just. It looked interesting. The blurb was interesting, and then when you start reading it and looking at it, it's just like, nope. And, yeah, but
I think we've all been there.
Yeah, people might think that about my book. They might. I'm sure somebody's probably had a look through my book and thought, Jesus, why have I spent 40 quid on this? But
You've got to eat, Allan. Come on.
Well, I mean, I know why I spent 40 quid on it. I just haven't looked at it yet.
It's because it's got a real bad-looking guy and a mummy and a UFO on the front. You need more?
Nope.
Robots, please. We need monkeys and robots as well. But otherwise, not a proper cover. No.
Also, pirates.
Or monkey robot pirates.
There we go.
There is a monkey. There is a monkey robot pirate RPG.
There is, yeah, there is. And for the record, I would buy and run that. Just for the record.
A monkey robot pirate RPG.
Yeah, mental.
I saw on a stock list at a shop the other day one called Thirsty Sword Lesbians.
Oh yes. Yeah,
and I thought, well, why do they have to be thirsty?
I know. I was wondering that. It's like, are they in a particularly hot, humid environment?
Maybe I do. So come on, Pookie. I'm intrigued. Then, tell us about Thirsty Sword Lesbians?
Okay,
there's a phrase I never thought I'd ever say.
I can't remember. I think basically. I think it was a case of being thirsty for each other more than anything else, as far as I recall.
Right. Okay.
Okay. It's not a. I mean, the thing is, you say thirsty sword lesbians. It is not as prurient as it sounds. It's not. It's not chaste per se, but it's more dealing with the romance and sort of like I could put it, the action around the romance. In sort of like for us, it was sort of like a fantasy court setting.
Okay.
I can't remember. I think it's Fate, and it was
right.
Fun.
Okay, yeah. I mean, with a title like that, it can't not be fun, right?
Well, yeah. it just grabs you from the shelf, doesn't it? It's like,
Yeah.
come look at
Yeah.
me, you know. But yeah, I think we'll leave that.
And on that note, yeah.
on that bombshell, is
Other lesbians are available.
Well hydrated lesbians are available.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think I shall cut and call it time.
Brilliant.
I don't know. This is only the 7th episode. I want to try and get to 10, chaps, before we are actually cancelled.
Yeah, you might have to edit that last bit out, or we won't reach 8, mate.
Yeah.
Possibly. No, it's fine. It's all good fun. All good fun. But yes, hopefully we do come back next week. But you know, I think that's got. I think it'll be fine. Anyway, so excellent questions, guys, and hopefully see you all next time. So it's goodbye from me.
Bye-bye, everybody.
And goodbye from everyone else. So
Bye.